I think there's always been a sort of natural jealousy and resentment towards Robyn. The 156-acre North Carolina property belonging to Sister Wives star Janelle Brown is a risky but ambitious investment. Janelle wed her ex-husband, Kody Brown, in 1993 and joined his polygamous family. Kody and Janelle had 6 children together. In 2010, Janelle, Kody, and her sister wives Christine and Mary Brown appeared on Sister Wives, making their reality TV debut. She remained faithfully by Kody's side, celebrating the addition of the family when he wed his 4th wife, Robyn Brown. Janelle was a committed wife and a great mother, going to all extents possible to make Kody happy, whether it involved obeying his orders or helping him financially in his pursuits. Unfortunately, Kody never really valued Janelle's efforts. He would often overlook her sentiments and preferred to spend most of his time with Robyn, his younger wife. Once Christine left, Janelle also parted ways with Kody in 2021, understanding it was not too late to pursue her dreams and become independent. After the breakup, Janelle moved to North Carolina in 2022. In North Carolina, Janelle purchased a large piece of land, using most of her finances to invest in the farm. Like her sister wife peers, Mary and Christine, Janelle also invested money in starting her own businesses. Maybe the biggest shock investment she made was buying a 156-acre tract, which is now the headquarters of her business, Tata Farms. About 2 years since her breakup with Kody, Janelle acquired the North Carolina property for $289,000. Only 30 minutes from her daughter Maddie Brush's residence, Janelle's sprawling property in Chatham is now the hub of her new life. So far, the Sister Wives star has concentrated mainly on developing Tata Farms on her extensive acreage. While Janelle has achieved monumental gains by investing in and developing her agricultural venture on the 156-acre tract, it's apparent she might have taken on too much. Assuming a financial burden this large has introduced Janelle to a whole new world of responsibilities. As she ages, Janelle may find that she spends less time with her children because of her commitment to this new business. Keeping the land will require a great deal of effort and probably still more money, which will ultimately affect Janelle's financial future. In Chatham County, North Carolina, Janelle has created a flower farm. Aside from the funds used in maintaining properties, Janelle's business plan is still in need of fine-tuning, and she continues to heavily invest in the operation of her farm business. Tata Farms, which she established with Madison Brush, was Janelle's first significant business venture since her breakup with Kody. With a soft launch on social media several months ago, Janelle invited Sister Wives viewers to give it a try by sharing about it. With the TAF Fam website, Janelle also started selling casual merchandise such as tops, bags, aprons, cookbooks, towels, and special Mother's Day packages, utilizing the site as her online store. There are a number of reasons why Janelle's new business venture could be risky. She was married to Kody for almost 30 years, raising their 6 children and concentrating on family duties. Janelle has no farming experience, and her business model is still very unclear. Prospective customers may be confused by the vague About Us page on her website. Also, the Our Story page clarifies that Tata Farms is not merely about cultivating flowers. It's about creating a sanctuary where individuals can come together, connect, and find solace in nature's splendor. Janelle's finances also received a boost from the sale of Coyote Pass. The sale of their family property proved to be a financial success for Janelle. Tension between Kody and Janelle about Coyote Pass had been simmering for a long time. In 2018, Janelle, Kody, and the rest of the Sister Wives spent a lot of money to buy the 14-acre Coyote Pass land in Fort Valley, Arizona, to start their polygamous family. They paid close to $800,000 for it. But after Janelle and the other wives split up from Kody, everything was different. Disagreements over the property increased as Janelle and Mary forced Kody to sell Coyote Pass and share the profits equally. Kody later sold Coyote Pass in 2025 for $1.5 million. It has been discovered later that Janelle, Robyn, Mary, and Kody shared the proceeds equally, with Janelle getting a considerable sum. Janelle pocketed around $300,000, probably well over twice what she originally invested in 2018. Janelle is clever enough to put some of that money into savings instead of throwing it all into her farm. While it's nice that she believes so strongly in her dream, it would be smarter of her to keep the savings from the sale of Coyote Pass and let her business expand at a more organic rate. Is Janelle repeating the same mistake all over again? Like having a business partner might just complicate matters for her. Janelle has never been secretive about why she's always in financial trouble. Previously, she discussed how all of the family members contributed to one fund. All the adults in the family shared property and funds as a result of their being polygamous. Unfortunately, with time, Janelle was unable to keep tabs on her investments. She witnessed individuals such as Kody take money from the family fund for things she was unaware of, which affected her not only financially but emotionally as well. Now, with her business at Tata Farms, Janelle may be doing the same thing all over again. Instead of doing it alone, she's doing it with her daughter Madison and Madison's husband Caleb. Even if all seems well for the time being, dividing up such a large investment between several family members may cause problems in the future. As the company expands, issues may arise as to whether every family member is pulling an equal amount of weight with regard to Janelle's work. Similar to her previous money decisions, the sister wives star may come to regret not retaining sole property rights to the land. For decades, audience members have seen a family united by mutual religious convictions but strained by strong emotional conflicts. Of the women who once shared a roof, Mary and Janelle's names frequently elicited interest and sympathy. Their relationship, once relegated to stiff and uncomfortable moments in a distinct family arrangement, seldom indicated warmth. But a small but significant moment between them recently suggested otherwise. A glimmer of a change from past grievances to a tentative start at understanding. Mary and Janelle now lead separate lives after all those years of no communication and physical distance from each other, having moved on from their past life with the man they used to know. Called her husband, another woman cherished alone time and contemplation, seeking closed-off times of restoration over public conflict. The other found power in independence and endurance, steeping herself in a consistent cadence of work, home, and the outdoors. Though they once shared space within one large family setup, their union was always characterized by emotional space. It was not one conflict, but rather innumerable small disagreements that, over time, opened up the chasm between them. Colliding personalities, conflicting duties, and unresolved, unspoken resentments seethed beneath the surface of their plural marriages. Their few common objectives, raising children, sharing finances, and upholding their common religious faith, were never sufficient to close the emotional gap. Their beginnings were complicated. Their future mutual husband married first Mary, who was influenced by tradition, religiosity, and visions of a spiritual family under one roof and with one cause. Not long after, Janelle arrived with a functional attitude and high personal ambitions. Janelle prioritized function over feeling, whereas Mary yearned for closeness of feeling. Their initial years as sister wives were framed by this primal difference. Mary, who was a single mother, tended to be isolative, keeping to herself rather than socializing. Janelle, caring for a big family, at times felt drowned out, with full-time employment and parenting responsibilities. They shared duties sparingly, and even then, disagreements were more likely than harmony. But beneath the tension, there was a tacit, respectful understanding. The quiet sacrifices for a family that didn't always appreciate their commitment were evident to both of them. An unremunerative investment. Both women were essential to the family's financial survival. They worked inside and outside the home from the start, making financial and emotional sacrifices. Nevertheless, after all their years of toil, they reaped little personal benefit. Promises were made, investments were committed, and dreams were sketched on paper, but in the end, the harmony they had labored so long to create disintegrated. One such promise was represented by a dry bundle of land tucked deep within the big Arizona landscape. Coyote Pass was supposed to be the future of the family, a communal place where every wife could construct her own home. There, their kids would grow up, grandchildren would stop by, and the beams and bricks would serve as the tangible representation of the spiritual wholeness they had long aspired to. But the land wound up being a quiet witness to their disillusionment as the family fell apart. No homes were constructed, no hopes fulfilled. Rather, the property was a grim reminder of what was lost, and an enduring legal attachment. The reunion that awakened ancient ground. Mary and Janelle have reunited recently, but it was not for a party. It was business as usual. In their recent season of their current saga, they reunited to address outstanding issues about the Arizona property. It was a while ago since they had last met in person. Time had gone by, wounds had started to heal, and now the two women were each going through their own paths, post-divorce. Discussions started with practicalities, who gets what, who gets which portion, and what should come next. But as the years passed, something surprising happened. Vulnerability emerged. They talked, really talked, not as ex-co-wives vying for a man's scarce attention, but as two women who had both suffered through similar heartbreaks. Both understood what it was like to love someone who gave too little. Against all odds, both had borne the heavy weight of attempting to keep a family intact. Something was different in the room when Arizona sunlight streamed through the window, shattering patterns of old. Mary had long identified with the last remaining couple, the man she had once loved and the last wife still beside him. Her identity had been rooted in being loyal, even when being loyal hurt her. Janelle, however, had cut away sooner, opting for survival on her own rather than remaining loyal. Their emotional battlefield had set them on opposite sides for a long time. But time has a way of blunting sharp edges. Now, Mary is no longer part of that last couple and stands alone. Her loneliness has changed her priorities. Janelle, who has long found strength in her independence, knows firsthand the price of holding back emotions. Former silent competitors entangled in an involved relationship, the two women now have more in common than ever before. Though brief, its impact was still felt. There was no drama, no sweeping gestures, no theatrical confrontations. Rather, the encounter was filled with subdued decorum and introspective moments. Mary did less talking, opting to listen more, and Janelle, the perpetual realist, permitted herself to reflect on the worth of friendship over disagreement. They did not vow to become close in the future, but something was established, not necessarily friendship perhaps, but recognition of one another. A recognition of one another's suffering, of the unseen work that had been done before, and of the specific strength that it took to leave a system of belief so deeply ingrained. Strength found in solitude. Mary and Janelle now have their freedom from the limitations of a communal home. They have the opportunity to recreate themselves, and in the process, they may find common ground they never anticipated. Not many are able to discover such a connection, bound not to a man or to possessions, but to a past shared together. The arrival of a new figure had disrupted years of delicate emotional equilibrium in a previously single-parent household based on spiritual values. A woman, already a mother and survivor of a failed marriage, stepped into a setting rich with complicated, decades-long loyalties and roles. While her arrival wasn't greeted with overt hostility, there was a palpable undertone of discomfort. Her presence, while welcome publicly, reopened long-standing fears and reignited old insecurities regarding emotional balance, position, and value among the current wives. She arrived with children, personal aspirations, and a yearning to see the spiritual compatibility the family had so long shouted from the mountaintops. But the earth upon which she wanted to plant her ambitions already lay thick with ancient roots, ties made from childhood memories, common pregnancies, and the unseen camaraderie that only common years of trouble can breed. In spite of the long-standing family rhetoric of sisterhood and unity, the actuality of bringing a new voice and beat into the home created unintended results. This new wife came into the fold not as a tabula rasa, but as a person already hardened by the trials of life. Instead of walking into the unknown with innocence, she walked in burdened by heartbreak and responsibility. Her assumptions were different. She was certainly more assertive and possibly more grown up. She didn't merely want to belong, she wished to be embraced and centered in the emotional lives of her new husband and his former wives. In addition, with his focus now turning to serving her purposes with fervor, his other relationships started to collapse under pressure. They got along very well quickly, and she fell in deep love with him. It could not be denied that they had something special, but the contrast between his relationship with her and the emotional roller coaster he had experienced with his previous companions was telling. To him, she gave something refreshing, a new relationship free of stale regret, one in which he hadn't felt in years. However, while enjoying this fresh love, he unknowingly left to smolder the dying embers he had once vowed to tend forever. The tension between her and the other wives initially wasn't combustible. It boiled beneath the surface, tinged with diplomatic deference and covert strain. Smiles were exchanged, but behind closed doors, private doubts blossomed into communal discontent, and conversation sharpened. The arrival of a person who seemed to transcend the desire for intimate emotional connections and quickly became the center of attention left past unspoken hurts. Despite the initial wives' years of camaraderie, uniting together in joint sacrifices and shared history, her arrival upset that precarious equilibrium. She saw it too. The stares, the forced silences, the smiles that withered when she walked in. Instead of stepping back, she pushed forward, spurred on by her feelings of being left out. Whether by design or by accident, her words too tended to put her in the limelight. She became the emotional center around which her husband now orbited, laying out her needs loudly when others did not, marking anniversaries with fanfare that occasionally eclipsed past tradition. Although probably motivated by a sincere need to feel accepted, her attempts to insert herself into set ways and rituals tended to strike others as excessive, even when well-intentioned. In this instance, even her own children from previous existence started representing her perceived intrusiveness, particularly as their needs more and more became priority over others. It became increasingly obvious that the man they all once shared was now prioritizing one home over the others, even though he had repeatedly reaffirmed fairness and equality. The initial 3 wives were compelled to reevaluate their value within the marriage as emotional tides changed. Supportive words were few, and his visits shortened and became less frequent. Family time, once routine and sacred, was now divided, rescheduled, or simply given up. Slowly, the women came to see that their formerly intertwined lives were coming apart, not due to external scandal or censure, but due to an internal decay fueled by uneven emotional investments. The newcomer, who had initially set out in search of belonging, security, and sisterhood, started redefining these things for herself. She increasingly gravitated toward her relationship with her husband, sometimes grumbling about the broken family dynamics, but more frequently acting in ways that cemented her position as his main partner. While she would at times express regret that the family had broken apart, everything she did ended up implying exclusivity, consolidation, and calculated partnership. Over time, she and her husband were alone. The rich family life once crowded with the disorganization and warmth of shared parenting and communal celebrations now broken. Trust, once dispersed among numerous relationships, condensed into an intimate transaction between the two of them, with emotional doors firmly shut to others. Her power increased, sometimes overtly and sometimes covertly. She became the most relied upon voice he heard, giving him counsel about routine and justice, recommendations that tended to result in changes benefiting her family. This shift didn't go unnoticed. Each of the women from the beginning reacted to the changing scene in their own fashion and at their own speed. Others departed quietly, with a peaceful realization that the world they had constructed and loved had changed beyond all recognition. Not with dramatic farewells, but with the silent recognition that they were no longer leading roles in the novel they had written. The flight of the original wives was more driven by sorrow than by rage, less dictated by anger, and more by the agonizing awareness that the life they had co-authored was now past their role within it. Victory for the woman at the center of it all was bitter. She had won the partnership she had yearned for, the marriage she had struggled for, and the consistency she had longed for. But these gains came at a steep price. The original family values, diversity unified, strength through numbers, and the collective beauty of sacrifice shared, were subterraneanly relinquished. Now, she and her husband progressed as one unit, united more by complementary dependency than by the once fabled ideal of a sprawling, interconnected family. Remnants of what was lost haunted, bringing a faint shadow to their nascent intimacy. Even as new pages are turned and the family continues to realign, her position is still a point of focus, a permanent reminder of the complicated difficulties that come with attempting to fit into an entrenched system. Her narrative highlights the tenuousness of emotional hierarchies and the inescapable conflict between individual satisfaction and shared ideals. What had started out as a genuine need for belonging eventually resulted in fragmentation. Where she had previously stood on the outside of a close-knit group, she now sat at its center, but at a cost. Her story is a harsh reminder that the quest for love, affirmation, and importance, depending on how tenderly or aggressively it is pursued, can either forge lasting connections or destroy them outright. Fewer voices come today to what was once a thriving, cohesive table. The laughter and sounds of communal living have been replaced by the softer sounds of individual paths diverging in separate directions. Her presence in the family is undeniable, but represents both victory and loss, a paradox that starkly depicts how tenuous, plural love becomes when justice and emotional parity are no longer mutually shared. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more daily updates. See you soon. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Don't forget to subscribe and thumb up this episode.